to the place where I was doing with the boys school. They called me too.
No noises like that here, okay?
No funny noises. That sounds like a little child did that.
No weird noises with your mouth in this section.
Sounds like a little baby did that.
We're gonna go over some interesting things.
Well, when we got brothers, we got
Ooh, why does that look so? Why does that look like it's off? It looks slanted. Why does that look slanted?
still crooked.
You see that? It does look crooked, huh?
Yeah,
Maybe it's just me.
That looks all right to me. Way over here.
Maybe it's just the angle. Just the angle of the. It's the angle of the walls that make it look like it's off, but it's good.
looks all right.
All right. We're gonna start here in a couple seconds.
You gonna eat lunch? What's gonna be for lunch? Oh, I don't have to know what we have for lunch. You like to have? Oh, a nice big burger. A burger? Yeah, with some French fries. That sounds good. Yeah. And maybe a nice Coke with ice. Oh, you like all the classics.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How's everybody doing today?
Fine, how are you?
All right, doing fantastic. Again, my name is Diallo, and today we are going to be doing current events.
Great events.
Current events. Because it's Monday, January 4th, 2021. How about them apples?
Yeah.
2021? That came so fast, didn't it?
Did that come off a tree?
What fall off a tree? Apples? What apples?
What you asking us about the apples?
I wasn't asking about the apples, did I?
Yeah.
Did I say apples?
She said, how about, you said, how about the apples?
I said, oh yeah, I did say, how about them apples? It's an
Oh.
expression like, hey, how about that?
I don't get it.
That's
You say
okay.
it's just an
But again, it's Monday, January 4th, 2020. It's our first day back in the center of 2020, 2021.
Well, hey,
And it's pouring down rain outside. I can literally see the rain coming down sideways. And I think I see a cat or a dog as well coming down out of the sky. Yep, there's a couple cats and dogs. There's one right there. So we're going to be doing current events. We're going to read out things that are going on in the world that have happened since we last met. So let's look at some interesting things first. How about this one?
that's not interesting.
I know. Trump to Georgia official. Find votes. And it says tape captures president pressuring top election officer to overturn the results. So you got a president who's calling people up saying, hey, you better overturn the results so I can be president even though I lost.
Boy, is that what you call a shithead?
We'll find out. President Donald Trump pressured Georgia's Republican Secretary of State to find enough votes to overturn Joe Biden's win in the state's presidential election, repeatedly citing disproving claims of fraud and raising the prospect of criminal offense if officials do not change the vote count, according to the recording of the conversation. The phone call with Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger on Saturday was the latest step in an unprecedented effort by the sitting president to pressure a state official to reverse the outcome of a free and fair election that he lost. The president, who has refused to accept his loss to the Democratic presidential elect Biden, repeatedly argued that Raffensperger could change the certified results. All I want to do is this, because all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, Trump said, because we won that state. Georgia counted its votes 3 times before certifying Biden's win by 11,779 votes.
Oh, that's good.
Yep, Roethlisberger noted. President Trump, we've had several lawsuits, and we've had to respond in court to the lawsuits and the contentions. We don't agree that you have won. Audio snippets of the conversation were first posted online by the Washington Post. The Associated Press obtained the full audio of Trump's conversation with Georgia officials from a person on the call. The AP has a policy of not amplifying disinformation and unproven allegations. The AP will be posting the full audio as it annotates a transcript with fact-check materials. Trump's renewed intervention and the persistent and unfounded claims of fraud come nearly 2 weeks before he leaves office and 2 days before twin runoff elections in Georgia that will determine political control of the U.S. Senate. So how about that? The President Trump called up the head guy in Georgia and said, find those votes so I can become president. Find those votes so we can be presidents. Let's look at something else. Christmas cheer might have led to virus cases. So you had Christmas, and you had people that went and saw their families and everything, and could have been spreading the virus to their family, and then their family spreads to other people, and so on.
Certainly,
That's how it happens. So let's see. An employee's attempt to bring Christmas cheer to employees of Kaiser Permanente San Jose Emergency Department by wearing an inflatable costume may have spread the coronavirus to dozens of employees, officials said. Some 44 employees at Kaiser Permanente San Jose Medical Center's emergency department tested positive for the virus between December 27th and January 1st. After the informal December 25th gathering, according to a statement by Kaiser Permanente of Northern California. Kaiser's senior vice president, Irene Chavez, said that the hospital's officials were investigating whether an employee's holiday-themed costume, an inflatable and using air circulation machinery is linked to the outbreak. The employee, who has not been identified, wore a Christmas tree suit as pictured in the photo shared by NBC Bay Area. Let's see what the rest of it says. Chavez said the gathering was not a Kaiser Permanente sponsored or approved event. Any exposure, if it occurred, would have been completely innocent and quite accidental, Chavez said in a statement. The individual had no COVID symptoms and only sought to lift the spirits of those around them during what is a very stressful time. The hospital system initially reported 43 infections Saturday evening, but one person also received positive results overnight for a total of 44. Hospital officials said Sunday that they were testing patients who may have been exposed to staff members in question, but they were not aware of any patients who were infected due to the event. Chavez said the hospital system is investigating the outbreak and using contact tracing to personally notify and test any staff or patients who were exposed during this time period based on the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention public health guidelines. So this guy came, he's a nurse at the hospital, and he wanted to come in on his off day and surprise all the other nursing staff, and he dressed up as a giant tree, an inflatable suit and a tree, but he had coronavirus and didn't know it, and he spread it to 44 people.
They gotta cut that tree down?
They cut him down. He might get fired. Well, you know. He might get fired, which is not good, right?
Yeah. Goes to shits, whichever way you look at it.
Let's see what we got here. What else is in the news we got? How about this is from the wildlife section. A remarkable high desert bird may go extinct in the state.
No. What bird is that?
Well, let's find out what bird it is. Clear Lake National Wildlife Refuge. It's everywhere, this yellow plague. Grass between the lava rocks, grass between the knee-high sagebrush clumps, little shards of crispy grass sticks in your socks after just a few steps. The grass doesn't belong here. It's invasive, brought to North America decades ago and scattered across the landscape by livestock and machinery. Now a remarkable high desert bird, the sage grouse, it's a sage grouse, is at risk of disappearing forever from this rocky wildlife sanctuary and elsewhere across the West because of the unrelenting spread of this horrible grass. So grass is killing birds. Let's find out why. All it takes is a spark to ignite catastrophe. In the summer of 2019, a motorist tire blowout started a fire miles away from the Clear Lake National Wildlife Refuge on a Modoc County highway. The fire roared unnaturally fast and hot through the invasive grass, burning the last remaining nesting area for the sage grouse in this part of Northern California. So the 2019 fires that killed the last nesting places of this bird. The next spring, Chelsea Sink, an Oregon State University graduate student who studies the birds, walked through the charred skeletons of the sagebrush that those birds rely on for every stage of their life cycle. In the moment, I was like, it's over. John Beckstrom, a biologist with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, took me in late September behind the refuge lock gate so I could see just how bad these things had gotten out of here. The fire on the western edge of Clear Lake was just the latest burn. 2 decades ago, another fire ripped through the refuge eastern edge. Most of the sagebrush that burned still hasn't grown back. It's a microcosm of what's going on in the West. Invasive grass and fires aren't the only threat to the grouse. Development, overgrown forest, and warming climate have collided with the bureaucratic vapor lock, litigation, and political fight over livestock grazing and fossil fuel extraction in the West. Even so, Beckstrom showed me something remarkable, a possible solution to the onslaught of the invasive grasses that are the single largest risk to wiping out these birds and perpetuating choking California's air with out-of-control wildfires. How about that? It would take me like an hour to read this article. It's really long. But how about that? Because there's a lot of farmers up there who rely on livestock, and they lease the land from the government so that their livestock can graze on it for a certain period of time. When the lease is up, they move the cattle out to a different spot. And the government that part of the government needs to make money, so they make money by leasing the land out to livestock farmers. So let's see what we got here. Anybody know what the Ivy Room is? Anybody here ever been to the Ivy Room?
No.
It's a little club in Albany.
Oh, yes, I know where it is.
It's been there since 1940s. Because of the pandemic, it's closing down for good. There's a lot of restaurants, there's a lot of clubs like that are closing down for good because they don't have the money to stay closed. They can't open right now, and they don't have the money to pay their bills and not make any money. Right? Kind of a catch-22. We want you to close down, and we want you to stay in business, but you can't open up to make money to stay in business. Right? Doesn't make any sense. You might, huh? So let's see what this club has to say. Albany. The owners of the Ivy Room on San Pablo Avenue are in a good place now after trying The owners of the Ivy Room on San Pablo Avenue are in a good place for now after a trying year that saw the popular neighborhood bar and music venue on the brink of closing permanently. On the brink of closing permanently during the prolonged COVID-19 emergency. Right now, we're currently closed, said co-owner Laney Torres. We decided to hibernate for the winter because we were losing money, so we currently have no shows. We're just been trying to pay hard cost. Co-owner Summer Gerbing added, with the colder weather, we thought it was in our best interest to close and hibernate until we get to the other side. Things are not looking bad until early summer. Fundraisers, merchandise sales, online benefit shows, cocktails to go, and the like show the support to the small venue enjoyed in a community that extends well beyond Albany and help the business to cover its expenses through the spring and summer. So the government didn't help them, but the local community did. Isn't that fantastic? That's good, isn't it? That's why local communities are so good. Hold on a second. I'm turning this fan on me because I am hot and sexy. Whew, that feels so much better. I'm starting to sweat right there. All right. How about let's look at the crime beat.
The what?
The crime beat. Crime. Robbery suspect hospitalized after Berkeley police shooting. A chain-wielding drugstore robbery suspect was hospitalized Saturday night after he was shot with a gun and less lethal munitions by police authorities said on Sunday. In a news release early Sunday, police said that a 51-year-old man was in stable condition. According to the release, at about 8:22 p.m. on Saturday night, officers responded to a Walgreens at 2190 Shattuck Avenue for a reported robbery. Police were told the suspect had left the store and officers spotted him walking on Bancroft Way. Police have not yet said what was taken in the robbery or if any employees were harmed or threatened. Police said when the officers attempted to detain the man, he walked into a courtyard of the Tang Center at 22 Bancroft Way and threatened officers with a chain. A negotiator-trained police officer attempted to de-escalate the suspect, but he continued to speak and act in an erratic manner, police said in the release. When the officers attempted to take him into custody, the suspect advanced toward the officers, police said. Officers deployed less lethal munitions, and an officer also discharged a firearm at the man during the incident and wounded him, police said. Well, what was the dude doing with the gun? Everybody else is using tasers and beanbags, and he had his gun out. That made no sense. The man was taken to a hospital. The shooting is being investigated by the department's Homicide and Internal Affairs Unit. Officers' body-worn cameras were activated during the confrontation, and investigators were also looking for video surveillance from the area, authorities said. Police said in the release that per department policy, the Alameda County District Attorney's Office will be notified of the investigation and the involved officers will be placed on administrative leave. The last time a suspect was actually shot by Berkeley police was in 2012. The last time a Berkeley officer fired a gun at a suspect was in July 2020 when an officer shot at a vehicle of a robbery suspect fleeing a drugstore, which I guarantee you he got disciplined because you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to shoot at a fleeing vehicle. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense because you could miss so that they could ricochet and hit somebody, some innocent bystander. You know, unless the car was trying to run you over and you couldn't move anywhere and all you could do is shoot them. And all right.
Shoot the tires.
Easier said than done. People are always like, why don't they just shoot him in the leg or shoot him in the arm? Like, real life doesn't work that way. Even the best marksmen, like Navy SEAL guys, are not able to do that in the heat of the moment. So let's read the advice column. I love reading the advice column. So we got two advice columns. We got Miss Manners and Dear Amy. So we're gonna read the Miss Manners first, and the title of this: Thoughtfulness is a perfect gift. Do you agree with that?
True.
Thoughtfulness is a perfect gift.
That's true. It is.
It doesn't matter what the gift is that somebody gives you, as long as it's thoughtful.
Right.
Is a gift card thoughtful?
Oh, yeah.
A gift card?
Yeah.
Some people say it's not.
Because their brain,
Thoughtful comes from yourself.
because their brain not.
Thoughtful comes from yourself.
Yeah.
It's what you do yourself for someone.
Dear Miss Manners, I am a mature woman. We live within our means. We want things, but don't need things. For gifts, well, we get what we want. Generally, if we can't afford it, we don't want it. We are happily satisfied with life as it is. So we don't want money for a gift. What we want and need is to hear from our loved ones. A happy birthday, a Merry Christmas, or Happy Mother's or Father's Day is awesome to us. That connection with family and friends is worth more than anything. Our grown kids are the same way. Hard to buy for because they have everything they need. And here's the response from Miss Manners. Much as Miss Manners dislikes entering Grumpyville, she's worried whether the world hasn't gotten too crass with the ancient and beautiful custom of exchanging presents to be meaningful. It is not just you who has or can. It is not just you who has or can buy anything you want. Those who need and want material things are often disappointed by the present. And even when they are satisfied, they might fail to get what you also meant, thoughtfulness. The idea of exchanging presents is not to better goods, much less to pay people for milestones and holidays. It is to symbolize that not only do you have some feelings for another person, but you appreciate that person's interest and taste. This is not easy, which is why it often falls short of delighting the recipient. You can be fond of people whose preferences you don't understand or are not in a position to observe. Furthermore, these may change over time and do so especially rapidly with growing children. So we augment our observations with indirect questions to parents or partners and drop hints to those likely to be givers. At least that was the system until people decided it was not efficient enough and it became common to hand out lists of what one wanted. And if that is too much trouble, the symbol itself is eliminated in favor of giving money. Not only does this get others to pay for what one had wanted to buy for oneself, but it relieves those people of having to think of unpleasant surprises. What was thereby removed from the custom was thoughtfulness, the very thing that you want. Miss Manners has asked herself what is left. As these exchanges are supposed to be reciprocal, nobody should come out ahead in the long run, and nobody will have the thrill of receiving something that shows how well the giver understood oneself, or the amusement of receiving a misfit, which is nevertheless treasured because of the person who gave it. So when a person gives you like a funny gift or a gift that they were thoughtful about it, but you're like, this is terrible, and you guys laugh about it. And you always keep that present because it reminds you of that person. Yeah. That was okay. Now we're going to look at Dear Amy column. Angry letter may worsen things. Dear Amy, a few years back, an elderly family member passed away and left a lot more money to my father's brother and his second wife than the other family members. We were never told why, and my uncle and his wife refused to share these funds with us without expecting to be paid back. Wow. Wow, so it's inheritance money that's for the family. Like, oh, you can have some, but you gotta pay it back. Like, it's our damn money. Last year, my parents both died, and for the last 2 years or so, they were terribly sick and frail, and I had to take care of them. My uncle and his wife live only about half an hour away. My uncle and his wife live only about a half an hour away. They never offered to help out. They never visited. When my mother died, they did not attend the funeral or even send me any sympathy cards. Well, Amy, needless to say, I strongly dislike these two people as I did my late mother. Oh man. And I often think of sending them a letter telling them how I feel. My question is, how can family members be so cold-hearted? Should I send them a letter telling them how I feel? When it comes to, first of all, death and money, family is the worst. When I did life insurance, I'd always tell people that, let's say you were going to get in life insurance for your mother and your father or your mother who's passing away, okay? And you have 3 brothers and sisters or 3 siblings, and they all say, we're going to chip in for mom's funeral, okay? Mom dies. What do you think happens? You think they all chip in?
Sure.
Nope. Only one of them does. And it's usually the sibling that's the most responsible that has to pay for the funeral. It's usually the way it works. Because when it comes to money and death, families get squirrely. And if there's money involved in it, there's a lot of money that mama left, woo, there's going to be a fight on hands because everybody wants it. Even though mama gave it to the daughter, the most responsible one. All the other siblings are like, well, we deserve that money, but mama didn't leave it to you. Well, you forced, and then they go to court saying you forced mom to sign her will away to you. It's like, well, you never took care of mom. You never even showed up. Yep.
How mom is doing.
So let's read what Amy wrote in response. Dear Hurt, your deceased family member might have left more money to your uncle than the others because at one time your uncle had loaned or given the family member money. Your uncle and his wife might not have visited or had contact with your parents because the money or another issue created a rift between your father and his brother that simply was never resolved. That is the true tragedy of family estrangement. It is insidious and generational. That's very true. I'm not offering up excuses for their behavior, but an explanation for how complex and twisted estranged relationships can become. You should definitely write a letter to your uncle and his wife, telling them exactly how you feel. Writing these things down might help you make sense of your own feelings and reactions. Should you then send the letter? That depends. You might pour out your own anger and hurt feelings to people who have already demonstrated that they don't seem to care, who might misread or misunderstand your intentions, and may share it or criticize you to other family members. There is dignity in telling the truth, but there is also dignity in making a private peace with your own painful emotions. Any letter you send should be simple, declarative, and honest, using I statements. I am sad. I am disappointed. I wish you had behaved differently during times when my folks needed and care and comfort. So that's a good strategy. Take the high road. To read the next one. Dear Amy, Concerned wrote to you regarding receiving an annual gift of fruitcake made by their friend who had been very sick with COVID previously. You blew it by not telling them that there is no risk of contracting COVID from the food. You should not continue to perpetuate these myths. That's not a myth. Wait, what? They can't give you COVID through the food. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Wait, you blew it by not telling them that there is no, okay. So, okay. Dear disappointed, yes, I made the error of believing that this was common knowledge, though it was obvious that Concern was worried about it. Thank you for prompting this response. So she realized that, yeah, she made a mistake. Let's see what else we got. Where's News of the Weird? Usually read that.
News of the year.
News of the weird. That's weird. Did you know that they had trout at Heather Farms in Walnut Creek? In a little man-made lake there, they have trout that you can go fishing for. I don't know if you can eat them. Probably throw them back.
They edible.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I don't think you can eat them there. You have to throw them
Yeah,
back.
I'm a fish person, so I know.
Well, you can eat them, but I don't think, I think legally you have to throw them back.
No, no, you don't.
In
No,
what? No,
you
in
have
Walnut
to Go
Creek.
fishing and have license. It's the game warden is there all the time. He checks on everything that's going on.
Yeah, because Walnut
There's things
Creek,
that
Walnut
you
Creek
can-
is just a public park in the middle of the city.
You can go anywhere.
So in there, because they have it stocked with trout. Let's see what else we got.
As long as you have fish license, there's certain things that you can do and certain things you cannot do about fishing.
So let's look at some news about celebrities. How about that? News about celebrities. Everybody knows Prince, right?
Yeah.
Prince, the singer, Prince. Yeah. So IRS, Prince's estate undervalued 50%. So his estate, so his house, everything in it. Let's see how much it's worth. The ongoing controversy over the money left behind by Prince when he died without a will is heating up again after the IRS calculation showed that the executors of the rock star's estate undervalued it by 50%, or about 80 million. Yeah, Prince died. He died like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He died of a drug overdose. Because he didn't take his own life. He just died because he was addicted to pain medication because of all the knee surgeries he's had. Because he's a performer and he's dancing around on stage, 200 nights a year, that takes a toll on you. That's like being a football player, a baseball player, basketball player. It takes a toll on you.
Yes.
So they get addicted to pain medication because they can get it very easily. And the pain medication perks them up and makes them not feel pain. And then over time, doing it over a long time, you get used to it and you got to get stronger and stronger stuff.
Yes.
So the doctor was giving him some stuff that you can't get. They just don't give it out. Like you have to know people, know doctors that'll give it out. And his doctor, he mixed some stuff together and died. Same thing with Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
I think it was propofol, which is a very, very strong narcotic that's used in hospitals for surgery. And he would shoot that up every day to go to sleep and wake up, and yeah, sad.
Oh, that's
Sad. So the IRS determined that Prince's estate is worth $163 million, overshadowing the $83 million valuation submitted by Comerica Bank and Trust. The estate's estimator. The discrepancy primarily involves Prince's music publishing and recording interests, according to the court documents. Documents show that the IRS believes that Prince's estate owes another $32.4 million in federal taxes, roughly doubling the tax bill based on Comerica's evaluation. The Star Tribune reported. Oh, so that's why they did that. So there was probably in cahoots with the bank to lower the value as a state value, so they don't have to pay as much in taxes. The IRS also ordered a $6.4 million accuracy-related penalty on Prince's estate, citing a substantial undervaluation of assets, documents show. So not only do they have to pay the 32.4, but they got to pay another $6 million in penalties because they lied about it. Whew. So again, Prince's death of a fentanyl overdose on April 21st, 2016, so that was almost 5 years ago, created one of the largest and most complicated probate court proceedings in Minnesota history. Estimates of his net worth have varied widely from 100 million to 300 million. With Prince's probate case dragging on, his 6 sibling heirs have grown increasingly unhappy, particularly as the estate has doled out tens of millions of dollars to lawyers and consultants. So basically what's happening is lawyers and consultants are, in my belief, are purposely making this go through courts so they bleed the estate dry and they get all the money. Some shady lawyers. Right? The family's like, we want, like, just hurry up, we want the money. And the lawyer's like, we're gonna keep this in probate forever, so we keep paying ourselves. And they slowly, because they've already, what did it say? The lawyers have already made, what did it say? So it's already about $15 million that the lawyers have gotten. It's probably split up between like 10 lawyers. So they're making a killing off of Prince being dead.
Yes,
They're making a bunch of money off a dead guy.
and it's not his family can do.
They keep it in probate unless they find that there's fraud involved. But they're probably covering their tracks well. Comerica and its lawyers at Frederickson and Byron in Minnesota maintain their estate's valuations are solid. Comerica sued the IRS this summer and the U.S. tax court in Washington, D.C., saying the agency's calculations are riddled with errors. What we have here is a classic battle of the experts and the estate experts and the IRS experts, said Dennis Patrick, an estate planning attorney at DeWitt LLP in Minnesota, who is not involved in the case. Valuing a large estate, Patrick's added, is way more of an art than a science. So he's saying that the IRS is doing it because they want more money. And he's saying that the people who originally evaluated the estate are correct because they do this for a living. And the IRS people are like, well, we just get more money. That'll last all of 2 seconds. So they'll get, $20 million of tax. You know how fast $20 million goes in our government? It's gone. $20 million is gone.
Yeah.
Comerica, a Dallas-based financial service giant, has asked the tax court to hold a trial in St. Paul. A trial could dramatically lengthen the settlement of Prince's estate and generate more legal fees at the expense of Prince's heirs, Patrick said. So they're going to take him to court like, oh, this sounds like collusion so much that the IRS and this company are talking to each other so they can just bleed everything dry. Oh, that's terrible. Terrible. So let's look at some more animal life. Hummingbirds are flocking to Lafayette instead of flying south. We have 2 hummingbird feeders, and they are as active now as in the summer. Last year, we had only a couple who visited this time of year and only had to change the nectar twice a week or less. This year, we are still filling them daily. Are they not migrating this year? What's up? Dear Sue, well, 2020 was definitely a strange year, but not strange enough to keep migrating hummingbirds from migrating. I'm willing to bet that the majority of the hummers eagerly lapping up the nectar are Anna's hummingbirds, and they are year-round residents of the Bay Area. Did not know that. All hummingbirds migrate to some extent, and most of the spring and summer hummingbirds visiting backyard feeders left long ago. However, the farthest that Anna's hummers migrate is in the general vicinity. Apparently, they've taken a strong liking to your backyard and will continue to visit unless you shut down the restaurant or they find another supply of food more to their liking. Hummingbirds have the ability to remember every source of food they come across, but they can easily be lured to other locations. So while you're up to your ears in hummingbirds, that might not always be the case. To ensure they hang around, keep the food supply up and avoid doing anything that might deter them. You might also want to grow some plants that hummingbirds especially like and avoid using pesticides. Hummers also eat a fair number of insects. That's why you don't use pesticides, because the hummingbirds eat the insects. But yeah, I didn't know hummingbirds migrated. Actually, I did. I knew that they can go. They can go like 3,000 or 4,000 miles, I think, and they fly like 30,000 feet. A little hummingbird can fly like 30,000 feet. How about that? A hummingbird weighs like less than a month. It weighs less than this hat, less than a pencil, but yet it could fly really high because it gets in a jet stream. Gets in a jet stream and follows the wind south.
And what do they eat?
They eat like sugar, honey, pollen, and bugs. A lot of hummingbirds have really long tongues, and their tongues are like that long.
Yeah.
Their tongues are like half the length of their body. And their bodies are this long, but then their tongue is that long.
Yeah.
Do you have a bird? You have a hummingbird feeder at your house? No? We should get you one, huh?
Yeah.
You like that. Dear Joanne, my cat licks or bites plastic often. She will lick a plastic bag for several minutes or chew the plastic handle on a shopping bag. What does this mean and how can I stop this behavior? So you have a cat that just licks plastic bags.
Like a little person.
Let's find out. Dear Sonia, you'll be happy to know there's nothing unique in the behavior. Lots of cats have a thing for plastic bags. And while it might be annoying to you, there's nothing inherently dangerous to it as long as the cat does not swallow anything of the plastic. As with most things about lovable feline behaviors, no one is really sure why they do it. It could be a psychological thing where the cat is enamored by the texture of the bag. It might also represent a lack of certain minerals or vitamins in the cat's diet. It could be that the cat likes to hear the bags crinkle. It might sound like the breaking of bones in an unfortunate mouse's body. Plastic bags are also made of different materials than might appeal to the cat, including cornstarch or tallow, which is animal fat. A cat has a very sensitive nose and can pick up a lot of subtle odor that escapes us. To help your cat overcome its obsession, the easiest thing is to make sure the bags aren't within reach. I know half of the cats possessing population just stopped in their tracks and gave me a look. Yes, I know there are a few things that can be put out of a cat's reach, but one can try. Because cats will get anything anywhere. The next thing would be to try to find a substitute, such as a lickable, crinkly toy. If your cat still manages to get the bags, spray them with cat deterrent, such as lemon or rosemary. So I didn't know lemon or rosemary was a cat deterrent. Did you know that? I didn't know that either. I had no idea of that. All right, now we're gonna finish off with our news of the weird and today in history. Let's see. Okay, today in history. Again, today is January 4th, 2021. So we're going to look back in history at other years of July 4th. Let's first look at January 4th, 1935. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, in his State of the Union address, called for legislation to provide assistance for the jobless, elderly, impoverished children, and the handicapped. Yeah. So that was the start of the Great Society, right? Social Security, that was the start of Social Security.
What year was that?
1935. January 4th, 1944. Ralph Bunchy became the first African-American officer at the State Department. January 4th of 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson delivered his State of the Union address in which he outlined the goals of the Great Society. That was Lyndon B. Johnson, the Great Society. The Social Security, I forgot what year it started. But that's when a lot more people got on welfare after that. For a lot of people. Today in history, January 4th, 1974. President Richard Nixon refused to hand over tape recordings and documents subpoenaed by the Senate Watergate Committee. I know y'all remember that. Watergate with Nixon. They were spying on opponents, and they broke into his minions broke into the Watergate Hotel and only got caught because they were stupid. They didn't get caught because they weren't smart. They got caught because they were stupid. All right, now we're going to go to news of the weird. This one's called Uncorked. Acting on an anonymous tip, authorities in DeKalb County, Alabama, raided the Rainsville wastewater treatment plant on December 17th and discovered a large illegal winemaking operation, reported WHMT. So they're a water treatment plant, wastewater plant, and they discovered a large winemaking operation. Plant supervisor Alan Maurice Stifle, 62, of Fife, was charged with unlawful possession of illegally manufacturing alcohol and suspended without pay, according to the Rainsville mayor, Roger Lingerfelt. The operation was found in a little-used building. The sale of alcohol had been illegal in Rainsville until September. What? So they couldn't, in this city, they couldn't sell alcohol in the city. I know in the South they have dry counties. Dry counties are where you can't buy alcohol on Sundays. Oh, no, I guess no. There are some cities in the South you can't buy alcohol.
So you
Where you
buy
say
it
that is?
Saturday and get rooked on Sunday?
Exactly. Yeah, you can't sell alcohol on Sundays in some of the counties.
What part of South that is?
This was I know in Nashville, you couldn't buy alcohol on Sundays.
Oh,
Yep. When I was at school there, you could not buy alcohol. Let's see. Warriors. Steph Curry scores 62 points. Steph Curry scored 62 last night. How about that? His previous high was 54. So he beat that by 8 points. So again, thank you for joining me. My name is Diallo, and this is our current events, our first one of the year 2021. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful day. Stay dry. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Ole.
He said, stay dry, stay safe. I said, same with him.